All right, guys, going to do another install video. Today we're working on a Nissan Navara D40. We're going to show you how to pull it apart, how to change the stereo. Today we're going to use a Kenwood. Again, this is more of a base model. This gentleman opted just for a reverse camera and basic CD player. We recommend the top of the range or the next models up because I have the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, but the installation is the same. So we're going to run you through it. It's so easy to do on this car. We make these looms for you guys. It's a plug and play loom. Powers it up, the steering wheel controls, antenna adapter, everything. So you can literally just do this yourself. It is so simple, and all you have to do is run an external mic. So Nissan Navara D40, there is a couple of tricks to this because there is two different versions. There is a Spanish built and a Thai built. You can work that out from the VIN number if you're not sure, but it affects the steering wheel controls only. And we're going to talk about that during the installation. But first up, show you how to mount the stereo, how to wire all that up, and very simple, guys. I recommend just doing it yourself. Don't need to pay anyone for this. It's so simple. Couple of tools: screwdriver, drill, whatever's easier. Non-marring pry bar, but again, you almost necessarily don't need this. You can almost do it with your fingers, but we're going to try and put some of these on the web very shortly. We don't have them available, but use a plastic spatula if you must. Makes it easy as well. Now, first step, you always turn your radio on. Make sure you have no CDs in it. The radios on this are a standard doubled in size, so it's a 7-inch from corner to corner. That'll fit any aftermarket doubled in stereo. We always recommend Kenwood because they have built-in steering wheel controls adapters, which you can program. So it means you don't have to buy a separate adapter. So then when we make these harnesses, it makes it really cool because you got this 3.5mm jack that plugs straight into the stereo, program the steering wheel controls. No need for those $100 adapters. So very sweet. Okay, so easy to do. These just pull off this whole panel as one piece. Just put your hands behind it, and it can be a little bit tight. Let's have a look here. Oh, let's pull it forward. There we go. So if you couldn't get your fingers behind there, you could use the pry bar, but just be careful to make sure it's plastic so you don't going to damage anything. And that will actually just pull forward. Very easy to do. You got to be careful. Let's show you. We'll pull these plugs out first. So there's a couple of plugs, 3 of them here. One down at the bottom with a locking tab on it. Undo that and jiggle it out. Oh, she's tight. There we go. She's tight as well. On the back, these two here on the climate control or air conditioning, they've got a little locking tab on the grey bit. You're just going to push down in the center and then pull the grey bit back, and it'll actually pull the plug out itself and give it a bit of a jiggle. So they're very easy to pull in and out as well. All right, now I'm going to show you this quickly because this can catch you up on these. Down the bottom here, you've got these little locking in tabs on either side. So you've got to be careful not to break them off. So if you are going to just pull this off like this, you've got to sort of pull it towards the front and rotate it so it doesn't break them off. Another trick to that is you can actually loosen these panels in the center console. So if you wanted to, you could pull these up, okay? So let's show you that so you know. Center part here will just lift, very easy, comes straight out, you can use your hands. This secondary part will lift up as well. So when you're putting it back in, it's probably easier to have that loose because you can put the top panel in. This will sit over those locking tabs, all right? Very easy to do. Now, there'll be 4 screws. One on the right, one on the left, 2 on the top. This one's already out, missing on this car, so very easy to undo that. Like I said, make sure you got your stereo, or sorry, your CDs already out. And there you have that. You can turn the car off, it doesn't matter. You should always do it with the car off. There's going to be 4 locking tabs on the back on these plugs. So every single plug on a car is always got these center locking tabs, and that makes them easy to pull out. They can be very tight though. And that's it, stereo's out. We're gonna mount this on the bench and we're gonna duplicate that over to the new radio. It is gonna use Torx screws, okay? So these are a special star screw. We're gonna show you that to you on the bench, and we're gonna wire this up and show you a couple of things about the steering wheel controls as we plug it in and wire it. But let's go mount this first. All right guys, so we have this on the bench and we're going to show you how to line this up. The easiest way is just to put the new stereo and the old stereo alongside each other. And the key is to make sure this part here, this lip, this lines up evenly. Now, this is important because on this car, we were testing this just then,
And when you line these up, those screws don't really line up to an exact hole. So it's more likely these ones here that are actually behind. So we're gonna use these two at the back, which are gonna line up perfectly. And then I'd say it's gonna be these two. So let's try that out. Torque screw, T4 or T5. T4 feels a little bit loose, but it seems to be still working very well. These aren't very tight. And you can reuse these old screws. So there will be screws in the packet for pretty much every radio you get these days, but when we do this, we sell the Kenwoods in packages with the wiring and everything pre-done for you guys. So it's all gonna come with it in the Kenwoods for sure. But old screws, man, easy enough. All right, so we're gonna do the back holes. We're gonna make sure they line up first because they're probably gonna be the easiest to get in line, and then we'll see where the front lines up. Whoop, move that out of the way. There you go. All right, so you can actually see that top one didn't line up, these two do, and this one here. So if we were to actually try these other ones, these front two, they don't line up anywhere at all. So that's gonna be way off. So it's actually gonna be like that. So you're actually gonna use 1, 2, 3, 4 if you wanted. There we go. I mean, if you get this wrong, it's just not gonna sit nicely in the dash. You can always pull it back out and adjust it anyway. Nissans are so good to work on, they're just so easy. So that's what I recommend, guys, just do this one yourself. It's not gonna be an issue. Just gonna loosen that a bit, get it screwed in properly. And we're gonna get 4 in. Okay, we're quickly gonna do that to the other side as well, and then we're gonna get back into the car, and I'm gonna show you the wiring. We're gonna run through all the wires.
So that's the mounting of the deck done. Now we're going to go into the wiring. It is very, very easy. The hardest part, and I don't even think this is very hard, is running an external mic. So any good aftermarket stereo, especially brand names, will have an external mic for clear Bluetooth hands-free. So let's mount that up first and run that into the center so we can show you all the center wiring. On this car, we also did run a reverse camera. We ran that earlier. You can watch any of our videos online that show you how to mount a reverse camera. You can mount them anywhere in the back. Just run to the front, come up through the floor and into the center console. Every car is different if you have a different tray, different back end. So we're not gonna show you that. Plenty of videos online, how to run a reverse camera. Let's just show you the stereo wiring. All right, external mic, very easy to do. We're gonna pull off this handle. We put the non-marring pry bar behind here because it's not gonna scratch anything. Pull that forward. And this is 10mm bolts behind here. So 10mm ratchet. Let's undo them anti-clockwise. For those of you that aren't very handy with your tools, but I presume most of you would be. Okay, there's one done. And 2, very easy to undo. Now, next step, we're gonna pull off this pinch weld, this rubber here. This actually just pulls all the way forward. It's not going to damage anything. They do push all the way back on, very simply designed to come off, and then pull forward the A-pillar. Okay, so you can actually pull it out even further if you have to. A lot of the panels will actually just clip off on the side here, and we're going to run our cables down there. That's all we need to get it off. So we don't have to pull it all the way off. It just makes it a little bit easier to bring it forward like that. So let's mount up the microphone in the center. And the reason we do it in the center, guys, is away from any wind and windows. So we can actually stick this up in the center, line it up with your mirror, and bang, stick it on, double-sided tape on the window. You know, that tape's awesome. It's never gonna come off, even in the heat. We're very hot here in Australia. The cables will go behind the A-pillar and just put it up behind the roof lining on the corner. I find it easier to do the corners up here first, because this one here's been stuck into the window a little bit. Let's go here. Put them up behind here, because when you put them up behind, you can actually just pull it through and it actually loops up in very easily and into the hood lining. So these actually just pop down a bit, stick it up there, get your hand behind there. Use your pry bar if you have to, but a lot of the time you can just use your fingers. They're very tight. Just be careful not to damage anything. So push that right up, then we pull it tight. There we go. And you can see a little bit of cable. It's nice and neat. Okay. Put your A-pillar back on. Just be careful not to jam your cables. All right, and we're gonna run that down with the pinch weld. So we're gonna push that back on as we go. That's out of the way of any airbags or anything that are on the car. There's no airbags on the side airbags anyway. Down the bottom, and we're gonna run it across into the center console. Now, I will quickly show you a little trick. If you do want to run this, you can open the glove box and you can pull in from the sides of the glove box and bring it down. And that will actually give you a little bit of room to tie up the cable behind the radio. This gentleman's got some CDs here. We're gonna get out of the way. So they fall out of the way. And you can put it straight behind there. You can reach your hand behind here and it's not too bad. Oh, piece of metal in the way. Sorry, you can just feel it, a couple seconds. There we go. Pull that through. And what we do is we're actually going to tie it to some of the looms that are behind here. We've got a little bit of tape, so we're going to use tape to tie them to looms. And that will actually keep it out of the way. You could use cable ties, you could use anything you want to tie it up, but we use a cloth tape. It's called Tessa tape. Very factory looking. They actually use it on a lot of the looming for the factory vehicles. And we come through up into the center here. Nice and neat. And we're going to tie that up again with another loom, just so people yanking on it, it's not going to damage anything. And if you've got the glove box coming in and out, it's not going to do any damage either. Again, you can use cable ties. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you tie it up with, really. Then to push your glove box back up, straight in, very easy to do. And then we can go ahead and put our handle back on. So let's put these CDs out of the way. And we're gonna put that handle back on, okay? So that's just gonna bolt up. So we're gonna quickly do that. We're just gonna run our reverse camera up into the center. We're gonna do that off camera so it's nice and quick and easy. And we will show you how to power up the reverse camera to the head unit. You do have to hook it up to the reverse lights for when you put it in reverse. But that power will run up to the front here and you can trigger your reverse lights as well. So there you have it, guys. We've run our reverse camera up into the center here, and that's a trigger for the reverse wire that will tell the screen to flick over, and our external microphone. Now we have all these plugs that are coming out of the standard radio. We're not going to use all of them. We're going to use the main power harness here, which is this one with all the plugs in it, and the antenna adapter. And that's pretty much all we're going to use on this car to do the steering wheel controls. Now I'm going to explain a few things to you. It will vary a little bit based on the stereo you have, but again, if you're purchasing from us, we make these harnesses pre-made for you guys. They can be done for other kits, but like I said earlier in the video, if you're using Kenwood or even Pioneer, they have this built-in steering wheel controls that you can actually program yourself, which is a really cool feature of those sort of units. So Pioneer and Kenwood, we really prefer those ones, but Kenwood we use a lot of. We'll pre-make it. So here we go. This is how the loom will work. It'll be a straight plug-in for all the speaker wires and the powers, straight in there. And then you've got the gray plug here, which is your antenna adapter. Now, this does have a booster wire that we wire up for you. Some vehicles don't have the booster wire because they don't have a boosted antenna, but that's not going to matter. But that's going to give you your aftermarket antenna. Now, you've got your main power plug that goes into the back of the radio. This one here has a handbrake wire. The handbrake wire, we do earth it out. We pre-wire it that way for you so you can actually use the DVD and the functions while driving, because it is mighty annoying to have the handbrake up. Steering wheel controls here, says wheel remotes, very easy to do. Now we're going to show you this, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of things with the steering wheel controls in just a moment. So we're going to show you how to program them to these Kenwood decks, and we're going to wire up this reverse camera quickly for you. But then I'm going to discuss the Bluetooth modules that can be separate on this vehicle, which actually stops the phone button from working. And it's only the phone button, but let's discuss that as we go along. So straight up here, this is going to vary on different decks, but this deck here, being a base model Kenwood, has the reverse signal separate to the main plug. But a lot of the new ones that have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which we sell tons of, these are all in the same plug, and we pre-wire it, so you don't need to worry about this. It'll already be done. But if it's separate like this, you've got reverse, it'll say reverse, goes to the reverse light trigger, and you can wire that up or you can use a plug. We're gonna put it straight wide just because of soldering. I'm gonna solder that up. Parking brake switch here, so that is actually already a plug. If you wanted to, you could put a plug on the reverse one as well. It's not gonna matter, we know we're not gonna pull this deck out. It's got a USB which is gonna run into the glove box in just a moment, but let's solder this up quickly for us. And then you have the reverse camera. So this one here has front view camera on it, so be aware to check the tags because the reverse camera on this deck is actually here. Okay, it's this yellow one here, it says R cam on it. Some are video out as well, so just be aware of that. So let's solder this up quickly. All right, couple seconds. She's soldered up. Just want to hold that for me, Dave, so we don't burn anything for a second. And we're going to tape that up, make sure it's insulated nice and neat. Very nicely done. Going to do our camera, we'll go in the back here. And we're going to plug everything in. So this is all very straightforward on the back. It is just straight plug in. The reason why we do these prefabricated harnesses for you. Wheel remote will actually go into remote in. Okay, so there is only that one plug that will go in. Be aware there is external mic that needs to go in and it will say mic on it. So there's that one there, that's the antenna. The mic on the back. All these things will only go in one place, so I don't think it's too much of a stress for you guys out there. Make sure you have it up the right way around and then tuck your plugs into the back. Now we're going to put the USB out the glove box on this one so we can actually run some music. Some cars have dual USB functions and you can buy some flush mounted USBs. Otherwise, a lot of the time we come out this center console, you can open this, put a little hole in the top, come out here, put all your phone functionality in there. All right, there we go. That lines up nice and neat. So let's power that up. I'm going to check the steering wheel controls as we've done it here. So Dave will turn that on and I'm actually going to run the USB while he does that. So he's just turning the key on. We're going to run the USB around the back here into the glove box. And that's that done. Very simple, very easy. So we can actually put these screws in while we're at it. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're going to power this in. Oop. Let's do the top ones first because there's a little bit of leverage there. Line those up. So this is not going to damage anything. This is just this drill that has a driver on it. So, okay, Kenwood's powered up. So first up, we're going to turn the demo mode off. You have options for different languages, front, rear camera. So we're going to turn on the rear camera. We're going to turn that on in the settings. Reverse camera interruption, it's already on. Parking lines on or off. We're going to turn them off because the camera has its own guidelines, and finish that setup. So this is the basic unit. Next step is to program the steering wheel control. So we're going to go into the settings. Now it's different on various units, but it's in the system settings. And you're going to go down to steering remote control set. Let's try that out. Okay, so we've already had some functions in here, and all you have to do on this is press and hold. So if we press and hold up on the volume button, oh, it's already been set. So let's we can reset this actually. Let's do that for you. It might be easier to actually show you from scratch. System. Let's see if we can reset it. Initialize, here we go, initialize. Would you like to recall the initial factory setting? Yes, we would. Okay, steering control set. Okay, this is how it would be, fresh out of the box, okay? So, now we're gonna press and hold up, and that's volume up. We map it to the volume up function. Volume down, and if we volume down, we've got source here. Map it to source, we've got phone. And we can scroll down on the screen here and there's a answer, hang up, or dual function, which is hang up and answer. So we're gonna use dual function because there's only one button on here. Oh, sorry, that top one was track up. So we're gonna start that again. The volume buttons are on the bottom here. So you can actually see we've made a mistake there. So we're gonna quickly initialize that again. My apologies guys, I'm looking from the passenger seat. It's very hard to see from over here. So we have to finish this setup before we can reinitialize it. Here we go. All right, so this is gonna be track up, track down. So let's start again. Scroll down, track up, track down, phone, source. And this is the cool thing about the Kenwoods and any unit where it's not pre-mapped for you. You can actually set these functions to do anything that's capable on the deck. Okay, we're just gonna push done there, and that is all set up. So if you wanted to, you could actually go into your radio or any of the functions and just check them out. So here we go, radio. See volume up, volume down. She's all working. We could go source. It's gonna change the source there, and that is beautifully done. Now, what I want to talk about quickly is this phone button on the steering wheel control. Now, some of the cars which are different, the Spanish built and the Thai built versions, will have a separate Bluetooth module. So that is if this vehicle here had the Bluetooth in the actual head unit itself. It wasn't a separate module. So some of them have a separate microphone on the car and is a separate Bluetooth module. It can be in one of two places depending on the car. So this is important if you want that function on that button to work. You will need to bypass that external Bluetooth module. Now, there is two plugs available. These are the two plugs to bypass that factory module. Okay, they're both the same, but the pin locations are different. Okay, there is two versions. Now, if you look at the back here, you can see they're wired differently. Okay, whilst they're the same plug, depending where the car was built, it will be different to bypass it. And those locations will be different. So I believe if it's on the Thai version, it is actually down here in the dash. So this is just under the radio. In the center, there will be a Bluetooth module behind here, and you'll have to unplug the big plug. I think that's about a 40 pin plug. Actually, it might be about a 30 pin plug. It'll be there. It'll be only one plug. You unplug it and plug that into here. And what it does is it allows that function of that button to loop through and continue through the stereo so you can program it. Now, if it is not there and you tried to map it and it didn't work here, then it's going to be under the passenger seat and it's going to be the other plug. All right? And you just look under the passenger seat, it'll look like a Bluetooth module. It'll only have one plug. It'll be a plug that fits this plug, okay? So, and you can look at the wires when you're plugging it in and make sure the pin location is correct for the wires, okay? You can also just try it. It's not going to do any damage there. But we're going to include both of these in the kits when we sell them for if you do need to bypass the Bluetooth. So when you buy a stereo kit and a wiring harness through us, we will include both of those for those guys that want to go ahead and attempt that. For those of you that don't want to, a lot of the cars are like this and it'll just automatically work, but you don't have to worry about that button. If you really don't want to worry about that hang up answer button on the steering wheel control, it's not going to be the end of the world, because being a new touchscreen model, you can touch it on the screen and answer the phone. It's really not that far from your steering wheel. Or alternatively, you can have the Apple CarPlay Android Auto ones and they have voice recognition. So you can go answer phone, okay? So it's not a big deal if you don't do that part of it. So if it's a choice between adding that in and paying someone like a couple $100 to add that in for you, if you can't do it yourself, maybe it's not worth doing, okay guys? But those kits, very easy to do. So that's it there. We're gonna put the panel back on and we're gonna wire it all up so you can actually see it finished, but very easy to do. That took us probably about 25 minutes straight if we're gonna do that without filming. I think that's easy for anyone to do, and it'll suit any of the Kenwood range, you know, right back. Every single Kenwood screen, I believe, in Australia has built-in steering wheel controls, and I think a lot of the Pioneers do as well. All right, so let's put that in. Okay, guys, we're just gonna do the reverse. We're just gonna put our plugs in as we put this back in. What I was thinking, or we were just talking off camera as we're getting this, if you don't want to go to all that hassle to get that phone button working, you could technically map the other buttons as a phone answer if you really wanted to, because the source button where you flick through your sources, I mean, that really is a bit of a slow function because it cycles through all the sources. It is very, very slow. You might want to map the source button as your phone answer button. All right, so let's have a look at this. So, all right, as we put that in, now that to us is a little bit far back in the dash, to be honest. So I think we need to come forward a little bit. It looks like it's nice and centered because it is in the brackets, but we have a big gap around the edges. there is two ways you can do it on a Nissan. We can bring it forward more, or there's a shroud that comes in the box. We're gonna pull this back out and we're gonna move it forward. So to move the stereo forward, we have to move the brackets back in the holes. Okay, so there's a good example of what would happen and when you're lining it up if you didn't get it right the first time. So we're gonna pop it back out, quickly change the mounting. All right, guys, so there you have it. The final result sits in the dash, nice and square, as you can see it. We're gonna put it in reverse here. There you go, you got a reverse camera. So we have turned off the guidelines, so you can actually go into the settings, and a lot of the Kenwoods, which are really good, have guidelines, parking guides on the units themselves. So, you chuck it back in reverse and out there. There you go, you got guidelines there. We'll just zoom in. You can adjust those guidelines in the unit itself, but that's not gonna be an issue. We do have the steering wheel controls work. We have the external mic up the top there, but a very easy install. And I was thinking about those Torx screws when we did the install. You can actually use Allen keys as well, so it doesn't have to be Torx. The Allen keys will work for those guys that don't want to go buy that extra tool. But great install, guys, check it out. So there you have it, guys, another install video showing you how to do an installation today on the Nissan Navara D40. So this will suit every single one with this style of stereo, whether it be Thai built or Spanish built that came into Australia. It will include steering wheel control adapters, plug and play, literally probably about a half an hour install. So check that out on our YouTube channel, Carbon Car Systems. So that's Nissan Navara D40 done for you guys.